Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm starting with the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. May Allah give peace to everyone in this earth. Most of us, we already know that what happened in Portapique. At least 17 people are dead. The Gabriel Wortman, he used to work as a dentist. And among the dead people, there is one RCMP officer who was a mother of 2 children. There are many more are injured already. This number can be increased. Now, all of us, we heard this through news. Now, let's talk about what can be happen to Gabriel. Most of us, we know that what is going on around the world due to the corona as economic crisis. Now, he was a dentist and he spent a lot of money to establish his office. He used to make false teeth for the people. He used to bring a smile on the face of the people. Why did he do that? Now, most of us, we are frustrated during this coronavirus because many of us, we have lost our job. The business owner, they are suffering very badly. As a dentist, he used to close his business during this state of emergency in Nova Scotia. And from the government, what he will get, or what he could get, or as a businessman, what you can get. $40,000 loan, like interest-free kind of for few years, and at the end you will get $10,000 lump sum as a forgiveness loan. So you are getting only $10,000, which is nothing as a businessman. That's why he was very frustrated. Only Allah knows the real reason, but all this is my guess. But my guess has valid reason. Now, what he could do? During this time, all of us, we are frustrated, suffering mentally very badly. That's why we need to love everyone. We need to show respect to everyone and take it easy. Ask forgiveness to Almighty, the Creator. It doesn't matter which religion you belong to. Please pray to your God so that we can go through this horrible situation. Especially, the economic condition is very bad. And during this pandemic, whatever we are watching, it's nothing. The worst situation is coming. It's coming very soon. That's why all of us, we need to stay calm. This kind of accident or incident or shooting can occur anywhere in the world nowadays because people are getting crazy day by day. Many of us, we are suffering mentally. Many of the people, they don't have anything to eat or drink even. Especially the businessmen, they are suffering very badly. So please, everyone, stay calm, help each other, support each other mentally. Please support your loved one and try to worship on God. He is the one who can save all of us. Let's watch some video clip. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now, I want to bring in CBC's Brett Ruskin, who has been tracking the story throughout the day with us. He was listening in as the police gave us that update last hour. What more can you tell us, Brett?
Well, Natasha, we heard from police that there are a series of different sites all across the province that investigators and police officers are going to be looking at in the days and perhaps even weeks ahead, because this is an incredibly complex investigation. It began early yesterday, or early this morning, around midnight last night, with multiple calls to RCMP about some kind of a gun-related incident. When police arrived at a home in Portapique, Nova Scotia, they found multiple casualties inside of a residence as well as outside, but no obvious gunman in the area. So they began their search. It eventually expanded to several other communities, being told to stay indoors, stay away from this suspect if they should see them, and to call RCMP because he is armed and dangerous. Here is a quick snippet, a quick clip from that news conference that we just heard. Here is Chief Superintendent for the RCMP, Chris Leather.
I can tell you that in excess of 10 people have been killed, but the investigation is still ongoing, and I expect to have more details in that regard in the coming days. We don't have a complete, we're not fully aware of what that total may be, because as we're standing here, the investigation continues into areas that we've not yet explored across the province.
And so again, that death toll stands at least 10 people. And again, they don't know exactly how many the total number of victims is, because again, they haven't perhaps reached all of the different areas, all of the different locations, all the different crime scenes for this shooting, these series of shootings. And so it's just an incredibly complex investigation that is just in the very early stages. Natasha.
What else stood out for you, Brett?
Well, I mean, one thing that definitely stands out that is going to be looked at is the fact that he had a mock RCMP vehicle, a vehicle that he had created that looks almost identical to an RCMP cruiser, like the one that you might see behind me here. And so he also, and this was confirmed in that news conference, that he had he had clothing that looked like an RCMP uniform. And so that we heard from Chief Superintendent Constable Chris Leather. He said that indicates some sense of a lack of randomness, perhaps some pre-planning to this, to have a mock RCMP vehicle and RCMP clothing at your disposal. But on the other side of things, there was kind of pure randomness to a lot of these shootings, with no clear link, they said, between the suspect and the victims. And so there is just lots of questions still unanswered as to why this happened, how it happened, the sequence of events, the different locations. Just an incredibly complex investigation, one that I don't think Nova Scotia has ever seen before, at least in terms of death toll, in the vast geography that this manhunt and that these shootings have covered. It really is unprecedented, at least in recent memory here for Nova Scotia, perhaps all of Atlantic Canada. And it's just a day that many Nova Scotians won't soon forget. Natasha.
CBC's Brett Ruskin reporting from Nova Scotia. Thank you, Brett.
Last night, following multiple 911 calls, Nova Scotia RCMP members responded to a firearms call to a Portapique residence in Colchester County. When police arrived at the scene, members located several casualties inside and outside of the home. They did not, however, locate the suspect. This was a very quickly evolving situation and a chaotic scene. The search for the suspect ended this morning, and I can confirm that he is deceased.
It's with tremendous sadness that I share with you that we have lost Constable Heidi Stevenson, a 23-year veteran of the force, who was killed this morning while responding to an active shooter incident.
I want to touch briefly on the unfolding events in Portapique, Nova Scotia. I know we've all been watching this on the news. My hearts go out to everyone affected in what is a terrible situation. I want to thank the police for their hard work and people for cooperating with authorities.
A man suspected of opening fire in a rural Nova Scotia community, leaving multiple victims behind him and leading police on an overnight chase, is now dead. An RCMP officer was killed and another injured during a manhunt for the shooting suspect, identified as 51-year-old Gabriel Wortman.
This rapidly evolving situation started as a firearms complaint late Saturday night in the small community of Portapique along the Bay of Fundy, about an hour and a half from Halifax. Now, 9 hours after police were first called about a person with a gun, they said they were dealing with an active shooter.
Investigators say the 911 calls led them to a residence in Portapique. Officers described arriving to a chaotic scene with several casualties inside and outside the home. The search for the suspect led police through multiple communities, with a number of structures lit on fire along the way. In a bizarre twist, Mounties had warned the gunman may have been impersonating an officer, saying he might be driving a lookalike RCMP vehicle and wearing a uniform. During the manhunt, residents were urged to stay inside their homes and lock their doors as officers swarmed in on the hunt for Wortman, described as armed, dangerous, and on the run.
It's cottage country in the summertime. This is where this occurred, in one of those nice little peaceful cottage subdivisions along the Bay of Fundy. It's a shock. This stuff's not supposed to happen in rural Colchester County or Nova Scotia. It's hard to describe. It really is hard to describe. It's hard to imagine that this happened here.
The more than 12-hour ordeal eventually came to an end at this gas station in Enfield, about 35 kilometers from downtown Halifax.
My hearts go out to everyone affected in what is a terrible situation.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau thanked RCMP members involved in the chase for resolving the attack.
I want to thank the police for their hard work and people for cooperating with authorities.
It was not immediately clear what the motive was for the shooting. For City News, I'm Karen Ciolin.
At least 10 people have been killed in Canada after a gunman went on a 12-hour shooting rampage. The attack left one police officer dead and another in hospital. Police had arrested a 51-year-old man on suspicion of shooting several people. Authorities have reported that he has now died. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has condemned the act.
My hearts go out to everyone affected in what is a terrible situation. I want to thank the police for their hard work and people for cooperating with authorities.
The local premier called it one of the most senseless acts of violence in the province's history.
What has unfolded overnight and into this morning is incomprehensible, and many families are experiencing the loss of a loved one. That includes our own RCMP family. It's with tremendous sadness that I share with you that we have lost Constable Heidi Stevenson, a 23-year veteran of the force who was killed this morning while responding to an active shooter incident. Heidi answered the call of duty and lost her life while protecting those she served.
We turn now to some breaking news out of Canada. Canadian police say a man shot and killed at least 10 people in a rampage across Nova Scotia. Authorities say the suspect actually impersonated a police officer, even making his car look like an official police vehicle. Police did arrest him, but they say he later died. They did not give a cause of death. A spokesperson says they do not have a final death count, but that it will certainly be more than 10.